So hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So continuing the evolution chapter, it's the part 2 of the chapter. So we have done till the biological evolution. So moving ahead with the mechanism of evolution, what is the origin of this variation and how this speciation occurs? Even though Mendel had talked of inheritable factors influencing phenotype, Darwin either ignored these observations or kept silence. In the first decade of the 20th century, Hugo de Vries, based on his work on the evening primrose, brought forth the idea of mutations. These are the large differences arising suddenly in a population. He believed that it is the mutation which causes the evolution and not the minor variations heritable that Darwin talked about. Mutations are random and directionless, while Darwinian variations are small and directional. Evolution for Darwin was gradual, while de Vries believed the mutation caused speciation and hence called it the saltation. Saltation is the single-step large mutation. Studies in the population genetics later brought out some clarity. Let's talk about Hardy-Weinberg principle. So, in a given population, one can find out the frequency of occurrence of the alleles of a gene or a locus. This frequency is supposed to remain fixed and even remain the same through the generations. Hardy-Weinberg principle stated it using algebraic equations. This principle says that allelic frequency in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation. So, allelic frequency in a population is stable and is constant from generation to generation. The gene pool, total genes and their alleles in a population remains constant. This is called genetic equilibrium. Sum total of all the allelic frequencies is 1. Individual frequencies, for example, can be named P, Q, etc. In a diploid, P and Q represent the frequency of allele capital A and allele small a. The frequency of capital A individuals in a population is simply P square. This is simply stated in another ways such that the probability that an allele A with a frequency of P appear on both the chromosomes of a diploid organism is simply the product of the probabilities such that P square. Similarly, of small a is Q square, of A small a is the 2pq. So 2pq gives the heterozygous individuals, Q square is the homozygous recessive and P square is the homozygous dominant. Hence, P square plus 2pq plus Q square is equal to 1. This is a binomial expansion of P plus Q ka whole square. When frequency measured differs from the expected values, the difference direction indicates the extent of evolutionary change. Disturbance in the genetic equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium such that change of frequency of alleles in a population would then be interpreted as a resulting in evolution. So 5 factors are known to affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. These are gene migration or gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, genetic recombination and the natural selection. We already know about the mutation, genetic recombinations and the natural selections. So gene migration or gene flow is the change in the gene frequency, and genetic drift is due to the bottleneck effect we will be talking about. When migration of a section of a population to another place and population occurs, gene frequencies change in the original as well as in the new population. So new genes or alleles are added to the new population. These are lost from the old population. There would be gene flow if these gene migration happens multiple times. So if the gene migration happens multiple times, it is called gene flow. If the same change occurs by chance, it is called genetic drift. So if the gene flow occurs same times due to the gene migration happening multiple times and it is occurring by chance, so this is called genetic drift. Sometimes the change in the allele frequency is so different in the new sample of the population that they become of different species. The original drifted population becomes the founders and the effect is called founder effect. So microbial experiment shows the existing advantageous mutations when selected will result in observation of new phenotypes. Over few generations, they would result in speciation. Natural selection is a process in which heritable variations enabling better survival are enabled to reproduce and leave a greater number of progeny. A critical analysis makes us believe that the variations due to mutations or variation due to the recombination during gametogenesis or due to the gene flow or genetic drift results in the changed frequency of genes and alleles in the future generations. Coupled to enhance reproductive success, natural selection makes it look like different population. Natural selection can lead to stabilization in which more individuals acquire the mean character value. Directional change, more individuals acquire value other than the mean character value, or disruption, more characters acquire the peripheral character value at both ends of the distribution curves. Let's see these in the diagrammatic form. Diagrammatic representation of the operation of natural selection on different traits, stabilizing, directional and disruptive. So this is the number of individuals with phenotype. So phenotypes favored by the natural selection, medium-sized individuals are favored. This can be in three types. The peaks get narrower and higher. That means the medium-sized individuals are favored and the extreme ones are not favored. So this is called as stabilizing selection. The mean value is the favored value is the increasing. Let's see about the directional selection. The peak shifts in one direction. Either it shifts to one extremity or to the another extremity. So let's talk about disruptive. The two peaks are formed. The extreme ones are selected and the middle ones are not selected. So extreme peaks will be higher than the middle. Moving ahead, brief account of evolution. About 2000 million years ago, MYA, the first cellular forms of life appeared on Earth. The mechanism of how non-cellular aggregates of giant macromolecules could evolve into cells with membranes and envelope is not known. Some of these cells have the ability to release oxygen. The reaction could have been similar to the light reaction in the photosynthesis, where the water is split with the help of the solar energy captured and channelized by the appropriate light harvesting techniques. Slowly, single-celled organisms became multicellular life forms. By the time of 500 million years ago, the invertebrates were formed and active. Jawless fish probably evolved around 350 million years ago. Seaweeds and few plants existed probably around 320 million years ago. We are told that the first organisms that invaded the land were plants. They were widespread on land when animals invaded the land. Fish with stout and strong fins could move on the land and go back to the water. This was about 350 million years ago. In 1938, a fish caught in the South Africa happened to be coelacanth, which was thought to be extinct. These animals called lobe fins evolved into the first amphibians that lived on the both land and the water. There are no specimens of these left with us. However, these were the ancestors of the modern-day frogs and the salamanders. The amphibians evolved into reptiles. They lay thick shelled eggs which do not dry up in the sun like those of the amphibians. Again, we only see the modern-day descendants, the turtles, tortoise and the crocodiles. In the next 200 million years or so, reptiles of different shapes and sizes dominated on Earth. Giant ferns, pteridophytes were present, but they all fell to form the coal deposits slowly. Some of these land reptiles went back to the water to evolve into fish-like reptiles probably 200 million years ago. Example is Ichthyosaurus. The land reptiles were of course the dinosaurs. The biggest of them is that the Tyrannosaurus rex was about 20 feet in height and had huge, fearsome dagger-like teeth. About 65 million years ago, the dinosaurs suddenly disappeared from the earth. We do not know the true reason. Some say the climatic changes killed them, some say most of them evolved into the birds. The truth may lie in between. Small-sized reptiles or that era still exist today. The first mammals were like shrews. Their fossils are small size. The mammals were viviparous and protected their unborn young inside the mother's body. The mammals were more intelligent in sensing and avoiding danger, at least. When reptiles came down, the mammals took over this earth. There were in South America mammals resembling horse, hippopotamus, bear, rabbit, etc. Due to continental drift, when South America joined North America, these animals were overridden by the North American fauna. Due to the same continental drift, pouched mammals of the Australia survived because of the lack of competition from any other mammal. Lest we forget, some mammals live wholly in water. Whales, dolphins, etc. are special stories of evolution. You will learn about these in the higher classes. The most accessible story is the evolution of man with The most accessible story is the evolution of man with language skills and self-consciousness. A rough sketch of the evolution of life from their times on the geological scale are indicated. Let's see the diagrams. Sketch of the evolution of plant forms through geological periods. So first the chlorophyte ancestors developed. These give rise to the bryophytes. In the Quaternary or the Tertiary period, in the Cenozoic era. Then the chlorophyte ancestors give rise to the pteridophyte ancestors. These pteridophyte ancestors in the Silurian period, in the Paleozoic era, they give rise to the Zostero-phylum. Zostero-phylum give rise to the arborescent glycopods in the Permian period of the Paleozoic era, and these give rise to the herbaceous lycopods in the Jurassic period of the Mesozoic era, and then they Then the tracheophyte ancestors give rise to the Rhinia-like plants, and these do not give rise to any other plant. They give rise to the Coelophyton. So now the Coelophyton taken rise in the Silurian to Devonian period of the Paleozoic era. So these Coelophyton give rise to sphenopsids, the horsetails, in the Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era, and give rise to ferns in the Jurassic period of the Mesozoic era, and give rise to the ginkgos in the Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era, and give rise to conifers in the Jurassic period of the Mesozoic era, whereas give rise to genitals in the Cretaceous period of Mesozoic era, and give rise to progymnosperms in the Devonian period of the Paleozoic era, give rise to seed ferns in the Carboniferous period of the Paleozoic era, and these seed ferns give rise to cycads in the Jurassic period of Mesozoic era, and the dicotyledons in the Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era, which further give rise to the monocotyledons and the angiosperms. These in the Cenozoic era, in the Quaternary and the Tertiary periods. So here we can see that dicotyledons evolved first, then the monocotyledons. Whereas chlorophyte ancestors give rise to tracheophyte ancestors, give rise to Rhinia-like plants, and the Coelophyton. Coelophyton further give rise to sphenopsids, ferns, ginkgos, conifers, genitals, cycads, progymnosperms, seed ferns, and the angiosperms. So basically from pteridophytes to gymnosperms and angiosperms have been taken rise from the Coelophyton only. And Rhinia-like plants do not give rise to anyone. And the tracheophyte ancestors give rise to Zostero-phylum, and then the arborescent lycopods and the herbaceous lycopods. Whereas the chlorophyte ancestors give rise to bryophytes. Moving ahead, let's see representative evolutionary history of vertebrates through geological periods. So firstly, the early reptiles which became extinct, they were approximately in the Carboniferous period. Then they give rise to two parts, the synapsids and the sauropsids. The synapsids further give rise to Pelycosaurus, which are still extinct in the Permian period, Then they give rise to therapsids, which are extinct, and they give rise in the Triassic to Jurassic period, and these further give rise to the mammals. The nowadays mammals were arise from therapsids or pelagosaurus, and then the synapsids, and from the early reptiles. Now early reptiles give rise to sauropsids. Now sauropsids give rise to turtles directly. Then sauropsids also give rise to lizards directly, and these sauropsids give rise to thecorodons, which developed into the crocodiles and the dinosaurs, which became extinct, and these were present in the tertiary period. And thecorodons also give rise directly to the birds. So next, the sauropsids also give rise to the Therosaurus, and sauropsids also give rise to the snakes. So if we talk about this representative evolutionary history of vertebrates through geological periods, so we can say that early reptiles were present in the Carboniferous periods and are still extinct now. So they give rise to sauropsids and the synapsids in the Carboniferous period only. So synapsids further give rise to pelagosaurids, which are extinct. Then they give rise to therapsids in the Jurassic to Triassic period, and then they give rise to the modern day mammals. So mammals have been evolved from therapsids, then from before them pelagosaurids, before them synapsids, and the early reptiles. Early reptiles give rise to sauropsids. Sauropsids give rise to turtles, lizards, snakes, Therosaurus, and thecorodons. Thecorodons further give rise to crocodiles, dinosaurs, and the birds. Moving ahead, origin and evolution of man. So about 15 million years ago, primates called Dryopithecus and the Ramapithecus were existing. They were hairy and walked like gorillas and the chimpanzees. Ramapithecus was more man-like, while Dryopithecus was more ape-like. Few fossils of man-like bones have been discovered in Ethiopia and Tanzania. These revealed hominid features, leading to the belief that about 3 to 4 million years ago, man-like primates walked in the East Africa. They were probably not taller than 4 feet but walked upright. 2 million years ago, Australopithecines probably lived in East African grasslands. So evidence shows they hunted with the stone weapons, but essentially ate fruits. Some of the bones among the bones discovered were different. This creature was called the first human-like being, the hominid, and called the Homo habilis. The brain capacity was between 650 to 800 cc. They probably did not eat the meat. Fossils discovered in Java in 1891 revealed the next stage, Homo erectus, about 1.5 million years ago. Homo erectus has a large brain capacity around 900 cc. Homo erectus probably ate the meat. The Neanderthal man with a brain size of 1400 cc lived in Near East and the Central Asia between 1 lakh to 40,000 years back. They used hides to protect their body and buried their dead. Homo sapiens arose in Africa and moved across continents and developed into distinct races. During Ice Age between the 75,000 to 10,000 years ago, modern Homo sapiens arose. Prehistoric cave art developed about 18,000 years ago. One such cave paintings by prehistoric humans can be seen at the Bhimbetka rock shelter in the Raisin district of Madhya Pradesh. Agriculture came around 10,000 years back and human settlements started. The rest of what happened is a part of the human history of the growth and decline of civilization. A comparison of the skulls of adult modern human being, baby chimpanzee, and the adult chimpanzee. The skull of the baby chimpanzee is more like the adult human skull than the adult chimpanzee skull. So this is the adult human skull. As you can see, this is the baby chimpanzee skull. So baby chimpanzee skull and the adult human skull is they are resembling and they are more like, whereas the other chimpanzee skull is different. Summary: the origin of life on Earth can be understood only against the background of the origin of universe, especially Earth. Most scientists believe chemical evolution, such as the formation of biomolecules, precede the appearance of the first cellular forms of the life. The subsequent events as to what happened to the first form of life is a conjectured theory based on the Darwinian ideas of the organic evolution by natural selection. The diversity of life forms on Earth has been changing over millions of years. It is generally believed that variation in a population results in variable fitness. Other phenomena like habitat fragmentation and genetic drift may accentuate these variations, leading to appearance of a new species and hence evolution. Homology is accounted for by the idea of branching descent. Study of comparative anatomy, fossils, and comparative biochemistry provides evidence for the evolution. Among the stories of evolution of the individual species, the story of the evolution of the modern man is most interesting and appears to parallel evolution of human brain and language. This was all about the chapter Evolution, part 2nd. So we have completed the chapter Evolution completely. I hope you all understand the chapter and now will be able to solve the problems. So thank you for listening me out. Stay tuned for the updates and the upcoming revision lectures. Have a great day.